Selamat sejahtera puan. So untuk information security case tadi, group member saya untuk pembentangan ini adalah Satis Murugesan, Tiban Silsami, dari Nasarudin, saya sendiri, dengan Balachandra Gunasekara. So, the target data breach started around late 2013 and became publicly known around December 2013. Hackers gained access to more than 40 million credits and debit cards information through malware on target point sale post system. The target company to date has not publicly released details of the breach and probably never will, but enough information exists online within the cybersecurity community to piece together what likely happened during the breach. This information can help people prevent similar attacks in the future. Figure 3 is a diagram illustrating the target data breach with a timeline. Information was collected from the number of sources. So this is the question that we got for this case study one. So the first answer, a contractor's credential was compromised by email phishing. Please propose at least 2 security mechanisms to guard against email phishing. Answers: never trust alarming messages, do not open attachments, keep your software operating systems up to date, and avoid clicking embedded links. So through this, for the first 2 answers, this is the most commonly used methods to do email phishing emails. So following these methods will be the smartest way to avoid phishing emails. Thank you, Pan. So next, my friend will be presenting one.
Hi guys, my name is Balachandra, son of Gunasekara. Today I am going to talk about question number 2. Okay, the stolen credentials alone are not enough to access the company's POS devices. The hacker then acquired elevated rights that allowed them to navigate company's network and to deploy malware. This process is called the privilege escalation. Name as many ways you know how to privilege escalation. Okay, my answer is dumping the SAM file. This is probably the most common way to escalate privileges. Often it is possible to retrieve the LMSs from the system that may include some domain credential. Depending on the penetration test, this can be done repeatedly on many servers until you find domain administration hash. It's also possible to utilize the shadow copy features from Microsoft system to get the SHASCII and SAM files. One of the possible tools that could be used for this hobo copy. Okay, second one, B. Retrieving the etc password file. When you either have the credential or some other type of access to a Unix file system where there is non-crowded FTP server. For example, it might be very good idea to retrieve the etc password file. With that file in hand, you can simply enumerate the username of that particular system. Since users are still not used to creating or using strong password, especially when there is no policy enforcing, trying to username as the password for the account is always a good guess. Third one, weak permission on process. If you are in the system with high privilege system user on the Windows system, you will probably might want to take look over the service running that computer and check what users are running the two services. D. Sensitive information stored in shared folders. Shared folders can be very useful while doing the penetration test. The main reason is because the quite common find sensitive information being stored in those shared folder with either a few restrictions or none at all. I have already mentioned something similar on my last blog post, but I do not see why I cannot mention this technique again since it is usually very successful. Okay. Then E. DLL preloading. Utilizing a combination of DLL preloading, vulnerability of having access network shares, and pen tester could look for a widely utilized shared folder where users actually execute certain application from. Once this shared folder is found, the pentester could replace on the legitimate DLLs by a especially craft malicious DLL. Thank you. Next, I proceed to my friend.
Selamat sejahtera everyone. Nama saya Satish Margesan. So next question is question number 3. For privilege escalation, the hackers need to do vulnerability scanning on the target network. Please propose as many ways as you know to do vulnerability scanning. The answers are host-based, network-based, and database-based. So host-based. Identify the issues in the host or the system. The process is carried out by using host-based scanners and ignores the vulnerabilities. The host-based tool will load a metadata software on the target system. It will trace the event and report it to the security analyst. Next, network-based. It will detect the open port and identify the unknown services running on this port. Then it will disclose possible vulnerabilities associated with these services. This process is done by using network-based scanners. Next, database-based. It will identify the security exposure in the database system using tool and technique to prevent from SQL injection. SQL injection. Injecting SQL statement into the database by the malicious user, which can read and sensitive data from a database and can update the data in the database. So next, question number 4. Many POS machines on the market nowadays are vulnerable to virus and malware. Please propose a few measures to enhance POS security. The answers are: A. Ensure hardware is protected. This sounds simple but is commonly overlooked at an operational level. Don't loot hardware in a place where a customer or someone with malicious intent could have easy access to it. Avoid leaving cached over keys within sight of the POS. Always turn POS terminal away from guests so that the screen are not visible, and keep them in a fixed location and mounted when possible. Protecting site of terminal should sound like overkill, but it would be easy for patron to see manager's key, manually entered credit cards, and other data which need to remain secure. As mobile POS or MPOS becomes more precise, this is an overlap between consumers' devices and industry devices. This means it's more attractive for someone to steal a POS as they can use it for personal means or no longer just an industrial device. Having them mounted securely will ensure that they are not easily stolen. So B. Logout for idle section. When operators leave terminal unattended and log in, this provides an easy opportunity for anyone to gain access into the system. These types of breach is most commonly seen at the bar terminals or cash stations. In this locked-in state, anyone can walk up in the terminal and perform function without requiring any authentication. Would you leave your phone unlocked and sit somewhere that easily accessible by unknown parties? A similar mentality should be in a place for a POS section. Even worse, if tip 2 is not followed along with the tip 3, then a user may also know the manager's password and be able to refund the transaction or add discount without the operator's knowledge. C. Use P2PE and EMV. We lived in a world where anyone with a phone or computer can be technically adept. So it's only fitting that using encryption has become standard practice. Although abuses use TLS for all payment traffics, not all point-of-sale systems do. Some use proprietary encryption for credit cards, which is susceptible to breaches and decryption. Breaches and decryption. Using B2PE or point-to-point encryption and EMB when available from your POS provider will ensure that payment data is much better protected. It is an industrially standard type of encryption and greatly reduces the threat that if payment data was stolen, it could be decrypted or used maliciously. Number 4. Actively track your hack system. As a POS provider, we are constantly scanning and testing our system for vulnerabilities. The same should be done for operational team and customer installing POS. Think in terms for someone wanting to exploit the system and actively figure out the ways to better protect against them. Password guessable, a proper and authentication procedure in place in my hardware somewhere that an attacker could install malicious application on it. These are all questions that should be reviewed and ensure holes are not left in implementation of POS. So last, protected your network. Regardless of your PCI scope, you should always protect your network as other sensitive information is transmitted on it. Following basic security principles. The goal is to protect it confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. Confidentiality relates to keeping data secure and not available to unauthenticated sources. Integrity ensures that data is not compromised in transmit. Network security can greatly protect this as well. Data cannot be manipulated when transmitted correctly. This could be data coming from the post or updates going on the post that may have malicious intent. Lastly, availability of a system can be compromised. For a post, they could be mean the availability to the process transaction. So that's all from me. So next my friend will be continuing. Thank you.
Oke, nama saya Tipan Alagiso Sami. Okay. Target admitted that they ignored many alerts from their network security devices because of alert overload. If you are target CTO, what would you do alleviate the problem of alert overload? Okay, answer. A threat analysis model. Using a threat analysis model is an efficient and systematic method to identify, enumerate, and prioritize attack events. The goal is to quickly formulate a conclusion using the result of substantive observation of contextually relevant elements, indicators of compromise IOC. The analysis judgment is recorded as IOC negative when multiple elements are negative or IOC positive when a single item is positive. Okay. This approach not only reduces fatigue by having to make fewer decisions, but it also helps when you are already fatigued or under increased pressure, such as during incident response situation. Threat analysis models reduce alert overload. Okay. 6. The security experts criticize target for falling to isolate sensitive section of their networks from those more easily accessible to outsiders. If you are the target CTO, please propose a feasible solution to segment and categorize your network and resources. Okay, assign one person or small group to tracking cardholder data flows. Okay, any project starts with a rock solid team, and your network segmentation mission is no different. Assign a person or small group of staff who is responsible for learning all the places where cardholder data flows throughout the network. By placing this responsibility in hand one person, Ideally, he or she can track this information more easily and consistently. This one person become the expert on the overall flow or cardholder data as well as where and how it used to store, therefore reducing the scope of the CDE. AB develop a data flow map or cardholder data based on the information that you gather through employee interview and your independent research. Create a visual representation of the flow of cardholder data. Okay, determine how you want to segment your network. Armed with a better understanding of your cardholder data flows, you are ready to determine the best way to segment network. The most common strategy used is via the firewall, which involves situation a piece of dedicated hardware between each network zone to limit network traffic. And choosing the firewall option, it is important that you configure your access control list to define precisely what the traffic is allowed to pass through the section. While firewall implementation is a common strategy to segmentation and network, it is certainly not the only one. Consider a few other options available to you. Analog phone lines. It may like a strange consideration to take anything offline these days, but that is precisely what this approach requires. With this method of segmentation and network, you will need to take your credit card processing offline. But the results are actually fairly foolproof. Using an analog phone line is simple because no internet connection instantly means no network instruction. Okay, thank you.